Deep in the outer rim of the galaxy, far beyond any trade route or patrol line, an automated listening post floated in silence. It had drifted there for decades, forgotten by its makers, surrounded by empty darkness and cold stars. Then one quiet rotation, something impossible happened. A signal appeared, faint at first, pulsing in a rhythm no one had ever recorded before. The station's sensors came alive, lights flashing as data streamed across the old consoles. An operator from the Thalorian Observation Network looked up in disbelief. The signal wasn't random, it carried structure, code, and something that sounded almost like a heartbeat. When the first report reached the Galactic Council, it caused confusion and disbelief. Most thought it was interference or another pirate beacon. But the readings showed power levels far beyond any known ship or station. Admiral Vekar, commander of the Thalorian fleet, stood over the holographic display and frowned. The coordinates lay in the dead zone, a place where hundreds of expeditions had vanished. The same region once rumored to be the graveyard of the human empire. Many in the council had forgotten that name, but the older ones still remembered the stories. Stories of a species that built machines large enough to move moons, and weapons that could shatter suns. Vekar ordered a probe to investigate. A sleek scout drone fitted with long-range scanners. It jumped through hyperspace and emerged near the source of the signal. The feed came through clearly at first, showing empty blackness, scattered debris, and drifting asteroids. Then the drone's camera turned and caught sight of something massive. A shadow, metal, silent, floating without motion yet perfectly intact. The scanners went wild. The mass reading exceeded the limits of the instrument. It was no asteroid, it was a ship, and its design was nothing like any known species. Smooth hull, black alloy, surface patterns that looked almost alive. No heat signatures, no life signs, only an enormous pulse of energy deep within. The probe sent more data, trying to map the surface. Then suddenly, the signal spiked. A low hum filled the control room of the observation post. Even through the speakers, the probe's feed turned to static, and its last image froze. A wide metallic surface with human letters faintly visible. Only 3 words could be read. HSS Leviathan. Then the connection died. The room fell silent. Every technician staring at the frozen image. The director of the post whispered, "Leviathan. That's a human word." Within hours, the news reached the Galactic Council. An emergency meeting was called in the capital. Representatives of 100 species gathered, their voices echoing in the Grand Chamber. Some dismissed it as a hoax. Others demanded a military response. The Thalorian delegate stood and said firmly, "We saw the ship, we lost the probe, and the readings are real." The words, "human empire," spread through the chamber like a chill wind. For generations, they had believed humanity was gone, extinct after their own wars. Now a forgotten warship had awakened in the void. And if the stories were true, even one human Colossus-Class Warship could challenge entire fleets. The council voted to send a task force, small but well-armed, to investigate. 6 capital ships, 2 carriers, and a swarm of recon drones jumped toward the coordinates. Every camera in the chamber followed their departure. The council waited, watching the real-time feeds. For a long moment, nothing happened. Only static and starlight, then one by one, the signals from the fleet began to vanish. First the drones, then the carriers, then the capital ships. No explosions, no distress calls, only silence. The last transmission that reached them carried a single distorted message. A human voice, calm and cold, spoke through the interference. "Do not approach," it said. Before the feed cut out completely, panic spread through the council chambers. Old fears resurfaced. The legends of the human war machines. The forbidden AI, the Colossus-Class Warships. If even one of them had survived, what else might be waiting out there? Admiral Vekar stood quietly as the ambassadors argued. He remembered the look of that shadow in the void. Vast, unmoving, ancient. Something in his gut told him it wasn't just a ship. It was watching them far across the galaxy, in the dark silence of deep space. The metallic giant stirred, its engines whispered to life. Faint blue light glowing under its hull. Old systems rebooted, old memories returned. The Leviathan, humanity's Colossus-Class warship, opened its ancient eyes, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Galactic Council hall was never silent, but that day the stillness felt heavy. Every delegate, every ambassador, stared at the projected image hovering above the center table, a single still frame, The last transmission from the Thalorian probe. The frozen words HSS Leviathan glowed like a ghost across the air. Council President Rallos folded his hands, his pale skin reflecting the blue light of the hologram. "This can't be real," he muttered. But even his voice lacked conviction. Behind him, aides whispered and typed, sending encrypted reports to their homeworlds. Panic was spreading faster than the message itself. For 10,000 years, the word human had belonged only to legends. They were the species that refused surrender. The architects of engines so vast they burned planets dry. The Council archives called them extinct, erased during the Purge of Terra. But some of the oldest records, classified and sealed, spoke of survivors who fled beyond the rim. Now the signal had come from that very darkness. Admiral Vakar stood before the chamber, his uniform dark as obsidian. He replayed the probe's audio, static hum and then that calm human warning. "Do not approach." The voice echoed through the hall, every translator rendering it in native tones, simple words, yet carrying weight that made even hardened soldiers shiver. A reptilian envoy slammed his claw on the desk. "This is intimidation. No ghost empire orders the council," he hissed. Another delegate replied, "If it's truly human, you'd best hold your tongue." Old rivalries flared instantly. Half the chamber demanded diplomacy. Half demanded preemptive war. President Rallos banged his gavel. But the noise drowned in fear outside. In orbit over the capital world, fleets were already repositioning. Thousands of ships drifted above the glittering clouds like nervous insects. Every empire activated old defense treaties. Every admiral whispered contingency plans. Even the merchant guilds began pulling trade routes from the outer sectors. No one wanted to admit it aloud, but everyone knew. If the humans were truly awake, the balance of the galaxy was about to collapse. In a quiet corner of the chamber, a young archivist named Seelan adjusted her headset. She had accessed forbidden files under emergency protocol. Grainy videos, ancient human broadcasts, battle logs written in primitive languages, and one schematic that made her breath hitch. A Colossus-Class Warship, the Leviathan pattern, a vessel powered by a singularity core, its main cannon capable of breaking a moon in half. The document was marked experimental, never deployed. But clearly it had been deployed after all. She forwarded the data to Admiral Vakar. When he read it, his scales dimmed a shade. He turned toward the council, his voice low, steady. "This is not a derelict. It's operational," he said, "and it's watching us." The chamber erupted again. Alarms from multiple ships echoed through the comm links. Fleet Command reported brief sensor pings inside secure sectors, unknown signals moving too fast to trace. Vanishing before lock-on, some believed they were reflections. Others whispered they were human scouts. Every system grew more paranoid, every border more armed. At sunset on the council world, the signal returned. Not from the void, but from orbit above them. Every device, every holoscreen, flickered with the same transmission. A calm human voice once again, slightly clearer this time. "We warned you not to approach," it said. Then silence, followed by coordinates. Coordinates located just outside the council's home system. The president stared at the numbers projected in the air. His breath caught in his throat. "That's here," he whispered. The ambassadors erupted in panic. Some ordered evacuations, others demanded a counterstrike. But before any decision could be made, every communication relay blinked out for exactly 30 seconds. The entire council network went dark when it returned. Every system displayed a single message written in old Terran script. "We remember." Silence fell again, deeper than before. Even the air felt heavy with meaning. Admiral Vakar looked toward the hologram of the Leviathan. Still frozen above them, he didn't speak, but his expression said what everyone feared. The humans weren't returning as victims or ghosts. They were returning as something far greater, something that had been waiting in the dark for the right moment to remind the galaxy who truly built the stars. The void trembled long before the sensors detected anything. Out beyond the council's home system, the stars seemed to bend and ripple. Space itself whispered like a storm about to break. Then the first gravitational wave hit the fleets on patrol. Massive, steady, unnatural. Something was coming. And it wasn't using any known drive technology. Admiral Vakar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Valorian. The crew worked in silence, eyes locked on the central hologram. Every reading screamed impossibility. Energy output beyond measurable range. Displacement signatures off the chart. And then, as if the universe itself sighed, it appeared. A shape pulled itself out of folded space, dark, smooth, immense. The ship was so large that even from 1,000,000 kilometers away, it filled the viewports, no lights, no insignia, only endless black armor reflecting the distant suns. The scanners failed to map it completely. It extended beyond their range. One officer whispered the name like a prayer. Leviathan. The moment the image reached the council chamber, chaos erupted again. Even the most arrogant ambassadors fell silent. For the first time in history, every species of the council watched the same live feed. One warship, standing against the entire combined fleet of the galaxy. The scale was monstrous, city-sized turrets, entire valleys carved into the hull, and along the edge of its central spine, ancient human markings glowed faintly blue. The Leviathan drifted closer, slow and deliberate. No transmissions, no threat displays, only silence. Its arrival alone spoke louder than 1,000 declarations of war. The council ordered the fleet to hold position, weapons ready but unfired. Every admiral knew a first strike might mean extinction. And yet fear made trigger fingers itch inside the ship. Captain Mira Cade stood in the command cradle. The bridge around her hummed to life after centuries of silence. AI Core Atlas reported calmly. Environmental system stable, weapons offline, external fleets detected. Mira's eyes scanned the tactical map filled with alien signatures. Thousands of ships all targeting her vessel. Her heart pounded, but her voice was firm. Let them look, she said. We're not here to start a war. The alien fleets encircled the Leviathan like ants around a mountain. A nervous commander on the Thalorian flank broke formation and opened fire. Energy lances struck the Leviathan's hull for a second. It looked like the beams might burn through. Then they simply vanished. Swallowed whole by invisible fields, the shockwave never came. Instead, the attacking ships went dark one by one. Engines, weapons, life support shut down instantly. No explosion, no retaliation. Only silence across the alien fleet. Panic spread like fire. Crews screamed over comms as their systems failed. Every attempt to reboot was overridden by an unknown encryption code. A code thousands of years old, written in Terran script. It simply read, "Cease." Captain Cade activated her main broadcast. Her voice reached every ship in orbit and every world tuned to the council feed. "This is Captain Mira Cade, commanding officer of the Colossus-Class Warship HSS Leviathan. We are not your enemy," she said slowly, her tone calm but unyielding. "But you will not fire on us again." Her words echoed through the galaxy, translated into 1,000 languages. Even those who didn't understand the words felt the weight behind them. For 10 millennia, humanity had been a story, a warning, a myth. Now that myth had stepped out of the dark and into reality. In the council chamber, President Ralos leaned forward, trembling. "Send a reply," he whispered, but no one moved, no one dared. The comm systems were frozen. The Leviathan had control. Above the capital world, the warship turned slowly. Its engines glowed brighter, forming twin halos of blue light with a soundless surge. It repositioned itself between the council fleets and their planet. The message was clear. No aggression, but absolute superiority. Every defense satellite, every orbital cannon, shut down at once, not destroyed, simply disarmed. The council watched helplessly as their greatest armada hung dead in space. Then a final transmission came through, a single sentence, clear and undeniable. "Humanity does not seek conquest," the voice said. "But we remember what was done." The Leviathan powered down its weapon systems and vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind only silence and a stunned galaxy. For the first time in recorded history, the council understood true fear, not from an enemy seeking war, but from one powerful enough to end it with a whisper. Deep inside the colossal frame of the HSS Leviathan, silence reigned. The ship's core pulsed with blue light, spreading energy through the ancient corridors. Dust fell from the ceilings as life support systems hummed back to full power. Frozen pods lined the walls of a vast chamber, each holding a silent figure. A faint hiss filled the air as one of the pods released its locks. Inside, a woman's eyes fluttered open, her pupils adjusting to the dim glow. Captain Mira Cade had awakened. Her breath fogged against the cold glass as the pod retracted. She stepped out barefoot, feeling the vibration of the ship under her feet. A voice spoke softly through the comm system, calm and familiar. "Welcome back, Captain." It was Atlas, the ship's central AI. its tone unchanging after centuries of silence. "How long have we been asleep?" she asked, her voice hoarse. 10,000? 231 years, the AI replied. Mira froze, trying to process what that meant. 10,000 years since she last stood under Earth's sky. She walked to the command bridge, each step echoing through the metal halls. Screens flickered to life, displaying data streams of alien fleets, star maps, and council transmissions. "Atlas, confirm current galactic status," she ordered. The AI projected a holographic map. The galaxy was unrecognizable. New borders, new empires, names she had never seen before, and not a single signal labeled human. Her chest tightened. "Is there any trace of Earth Command?" she whispered. "Negative," Atlas responded. "All Earth origin signals ceased approximately 9,000 years ago." Mira closed her eyes. Pain flashing across her face, humanity had truly vanished. Or so the galaxy believed. She straightened, forcing the grief down. "Begin full system diagnostics," she said. One by one, lights ignited across the ship. Thousands of cryopods hissed open as more humans awoke. Officers, engineers, soldiers, their confused murmurs filled the hallways. Some asked if the war was over, others if they had won. None expected the truth, that the war had ended long ago, and they had become ghosts. Hours passed as the crew gathered in the central hall. Captain Cade stood before them, her uniform crisp but aged. Her voice carried through the chamber, firm yet mournful. "Crew of the Leviathan," she began, "we have slept longer than our world has lived. We are all that remains of humanity's fleet." Gasps echoed. Disbelief spread through the ranks. A young lieutenant asked, "Then who are they, the ones outside?" "The descendants of those who destroyed us," she said quietly. The Galactic Council. Atlas projected images of the alien fleet surrounding them. Thousands of ships, different species, different flags, but all watching the Leviathan. "They fear us," the AI stated. "And they should." Mira frowned. "We won't strike first," she said. "We're not them. But we will defend ourselves." The command deck came alive as humans returned to their stations. Hands moved across holographic panels like instinct reborn. The sound of human voices, long gone from the galaxy, once again filled the air. Atlas analyzed intercepted council transmissions. Multiple species debating preemptive action, it reported. "They see us as a threat to their authority," Mira nodded. "They're right to be afraid," she said. "But fear can be turned into understanding." She opened a wideband channel, her voice calm but commanding. "To the Galactic Council," she said. "This is Captain Mira Cade of Earth Command. We are not invaders," she continued. "We are survivors. Your fleets fired upon us, yet we chose restraint. Now you will listen." Her message echoed across the galaxy, translated into 100 languages. Billions watched the broadcast. The return of the humans was no longer rumor, it was undeniable. In the council chambers, silence gripped the leaders. President Rallos leaned forward, trembling. "Survivors," he whispered. After 10,000 years, Admiral Vakar turned to him. "And they woke inside that," he said, pointing to the Leviathan on screen. One delegate asked, "Do we negotiate?" But the president shook his head slowly, fear clouding his judgment. "They're too powerful," he said. "We must contain them." Back aboard the Leviathan, Atlas detected increased fleet movement. "They're preparing to engage," the AI warned. Mira sighed, her gaze cold as the void. "Then they've learned nothing," she said. "Power shields to full. Deploy defense drones. No lethal force unless fired upon." The crew obeyed instantly. Outside, hundreds of drones formed a defensive web around the ship, glowing like stars in formation, and as the alien fleets advanced, humanity's flagship stood silently, unmoved. Captain Mira Cade looked out the viewport at the approaching armada. Her reflection shimmered against the stars. "We slept through our extinction," she whispered. "But we woke up to their empire." She turned back to her command chair. "Let's remind them who we were." The Leviathan's engines brightened, light spreading across its surface like dawn breaking over steel. Every system came online, ancient codes aligning perfectly after millennia of rest. And deep within its heart, something vast and unseen stirred awake, a memory of war, of vengeance, and of Earth. Humanity's legacy had not died. It had only been dreaming. The council chamber glowed under cold white lights. Yet every delegate felt the same darkness pressing in. Screens flickered across the room, displaying a single colossal image, the HSS Leviathan motionless yet alive. Its black hull shimmered like the surface of a dying star, absorbing all light around it. The sheer scale of it dwarfed entire fleets, and that knowledge alone made the Council tremble. President Rallos rubbed his temples, exhausted but too afraid to rest. Every hour brought a new report. Ships missing, communications jammed, border systems falling silent. Even the outer colonies had begun to panic, whispering ancient stories of the returners. Merchants refused to fly near the void, and entire trade routes were collapsing. The galaxy was unraveling under a single word: humanity. In the high seats, Admiral Vekar stood still, his expression grim. He had reviewed the data himself, watched the Leviathan neutralize entire fleets without a single casualty. They could have destroyed us, he said softly, but they didn't. Some delegates called it mercy, others called it calculation. No one could decide which was worse. An insectoid ambassador hissed from across the room. "We must act before they rebuild their empire," he shouted. A scaled envoy replied, "Act? How? One ship disabled half our navy without firing a weapon." The hall erupted in argument, fear spilling from every corner like smoke from a dying fire. They argued not for victory but for survival. In secret corridors beneath the chamber, something darker brewed. A meeting of high-ranking military officials, gathered under the name Coalition of Preservation. Their goal was simple: destroy the Leviathan before the humans regained full strength. "We'll strike fast," said Commander Jarek, a cold-eyed strategist. "We have a prototype singularity torpedo. One blast could erase the ship from existence." Admiral Vekar shook his head. "You're planning to attack something that shrugged off a star cannon," he said. But Jarek only smiled. "Then we aim for its heart." Plans were made. Fleets assembled in secret. Dozens of cloaked ships left from the Council's outer sectors. Their orders were simple: find the Leviathan, strike before it could move again. The Council pretended ignorance, letting the attack form in the shadows. But even in the dark, someone was watching. On board the Leviathan, Atlas detected unusual warp activity along the periphery of their sensor field. Multiple ships approaching under stealth protocols, the AI reported. Captain Mira Cade stood at the command deck, her hands clasped behind her back. "So they chose fear over reason," she said. "Atlas, wake the defensive grid." A pulse of blue light rippled across the hull, awakening dormant systems buried since the old wars. Vast energy shields shimmered like transparent oceans. The humans did not prepare for battle. They prepared for endurance. As the first wave of torpedoes hit, the void exploded in light. For a moment, even the Leviathan disappeared behind the blinding flare. Then slowly, the light faded, revealing the ship unharmed. Every attacking vessel had vanished from sensors, not destroyed, but suspended, frozen mid-space as though time itself had stopped. Atlas spoke softly. "Countermeasure successful. Enemy fleet contained," Captain Cade exhaled, her voice low. "They still don't understand what we are." Across the galaxy, the Council received a transmission. The human signal came directly to every government channel. Captain Cade's voice filled the chamber once more. "You sent assassins to strike at us," she said, calm and cold. "You built weapons to erase us." Her image appeared in the center of the hall, eyes sharp, uniform gleaming with ancient insignia. "You fear what you created," she continued. "But it wasn't us who burned the stars. It was your fear that did." Then the transmission changed. Every screen displayed coordinates across dozens of sectors, each one a location of a hidden human colony, long-forgotten outpost that had remained silent for millennia. One by one, their beacons came online, old AI systems awakening, cities relighting under alien suns. Humanity's ghost colonies were alive again. Admiral Vekar leaned forward, his voice trembling. "They were never gone," he whispered. The realization spread like wildfire through the chamber. The humans had not returned. They had simply revealed themselves. Every world that thought itself safe was now under the watchful eye of a sleeping titan. President Rallos tried to speak, but no sound came. The chamber lights dimmed as the broadcast continued. "This is our last warning," Cade said. "We asked for peace." Her voice turned sharper, colder. "But if you force our hand, the galaxy will remember Earth not as a myth, but as the reckoning you summoned." Then the screen went black, leaving the chamber in breathless silence. Outside, in the endless dark, The Leviathan drifted silently through the void. Its engines dimmed, its weapons silent. Yet across the stars its shadow stretched wide. Every council ship, every admiral, every citizen knew. Fear had returned to the galaxy, not from monsters or invaders, but from the children of Earth, who had come back to collect the debts of history. The stars above the council world burned quietly, unaware that history had just begun to move again. Across the galaxy, systems flickered with static as ancient beacons reactivated. Signals older than most civilizations whispered through hyperspace lanes. Each transmission carried the same code, a simple Earth origin encryption key, and every decoding attempt failed. On the Leviathan's bridge, Captain Mira Cade watched the holographic star map change before her eyes. Dots of blue light spread across the galactic spiral like awakening fireflies. Atlas spoke, its voice calm but reverent. 72 human installations confirmed active. Power signatures stable. Mira's throat tightened. They survived, she whispered. They waited for us in a distant nebula. A massive ring station powered up for the first time in 10,000 years. Engines groaned, lights blinked, and a long-dead AI came back online. It identified itself as Helios Defense Node 2, a fragment of humanity's once great defense network. From the edges of abandoned moons to the hearts of forgotten worlds, human architecture stirred. It was as if the galaxy itself had remembered something it had tried to forget. The Galactic Council struggled to make sense of it. Their intelligence divisions were overwhelmed. Every intercepted message contained the same closing line. Earth remembers. Whole sectors were going dark as human tech overrode communication arrays. Fleets sent to investigate simply vanished into silence. No wreckage, no distress calls, only absence. President Rallos summoned an emergency broadcast. His image appeared across the galaxy, his voice trembling despite the effort to sound strong. "We are facing a technological anomaly," he said. "We call for unity, not fear." But unity was already lost. Empires turned against each other, accusing rivals of colluding with the humans. Trade collapsed, alliances shattered. The galaxy's order, the Council's centuries of control, was dissolving under the weight of one forgotten species. Meanwhile, aboard the Leviathan, Mira stood in the observation deck, through the vast viewing glass. She could see stars older than her species' recorded history. Atlas displayed old Earth footage beside her. Cities, oceans, clouds drifting over blue skies. Humanity's home long gone yet alive in every awakened heart. The crew gathered quietly behind her, watching the same silent memories. They were warriors of an empire that no longer existed. Yet every heartbeat told them the same truth. They were still human, Atlas, Mira said softly. "Access the old command net." The AI hesitated for a moment. "Warning," it said. "Reconnecting to the ancient network may trigger dormant directives." "Do it," she replied. The ship's systems hummed louder. Faint echoes of voices filled the bridge. Recordings, orders, old transmissions. One message came through, weak but intact. "This is Earth Command," the voice said. "To any surviving Colossus vessels, humanity endures." The sound hit every crew member like thunder. Tears filled the eyes of men and women who had been asleep for millennia. For the first time, they were hearing a voice from home. Mira clenched her fist, her voice firm. "Atlas, broadcast that message on all open frequencies." The AI obeyed. Across the galaxy, billions heard the same phrase. Humanity endures. In the council chambers, the delegates froze as the words echoed through their cities. Every world received the same message simultaneously. No weapon, no demand, no threat, just a statement of existence. Admiral Vakar stood before the council display. His voice low. "This is not war," he said. "This is resurrection." But the president shook his head, fear burning in his eyes. "If they rise again, they'll claim everything," he said. "They always do." Panic began to spread through the capital. Armies mobilized. Defense networks charged their weapons. But deep down, everyone knew it wouldn't matter. At that same moment, in the void beyond the Orion Belt, another Leviathan awakened. Then another and another, their engines flared. Their hulls gleamed with blue fire one by one. Colossal silhouettes emerged from forgotten hangars. The fleet of a dead world. Reborn under alien stars, Atlas reported calmly. Multiple Colossus-Class signatures detected. All broadcasting Earth Command protocols. Mira smiled faintly, her voice filled with quiet awe. "We were never alone," she said. The echoes were never ghosts. They were calls waiting for us to answer. In that instant, the galaxy understood what had truly awakened. Not a fleet, not an empire, but a civilization that refused extinction. Every pulse of blue light, every whisper from the void carried one truth. Humanity had not perished, it had become legend, and now, that legend had returned to remind the galaxy that history belonged to those who remembered. The galaxy held its breath. Every transmission channel fell silent. Every fleet froze in orbit. Every mind trembled beneath the weight of what appeared on the star maps. Across thousands of systems, the impossible was now visible. Colossus-Class warships, each one the size of a small moon, emerging from forgotten space like giants waking from ancient dreams. The Council world's night sky turned pale blue as dozens of these titans drifted into view. Their engines glowed with slow, rhythmic pulses, the heartbeat of a civilization reborn. No weapons were charged, no warnings were spoken. Yet the entire galaxy understood. Power this vast did not need to shout, it simply existed, and that was enough to paralyze empires. In the council chamber, President Raylos stared at the panoramic window. He whispered the same words that had become a prayer and a curse. They've returned. No one responded. No one breathed, even the translators had gone mute. As if the machines themselves refused to break the silence, Admiral Vekar stood beside him, his eyes fixed on the largest of the ships, the Leviathan. It hovered in the center of the formation, ancient and majestic, flanked by its newly awakened kin. Each colossus bore human insignia, different ship names, different eras, yet all carried the same message. Earth endures. On the bridge of the Leviathan, Captain Mira Cade looked out at the endless procession of light. Her crew watched in awe, tears in their eyes, pride in their chests. For 10,000 years they had been a rumor, a myth used to frighten children. Now they were the truth the galaxy couldn't deny. Atlas broke the silence with quiet reverence. Colossus Fleet Command requesting unified orders. Mira took a long breath. "Patch me through," she said. 1,000 holograms flickered before her. Captains, commanders, officers from ships that once fought in humanity's last war. They stood at attention, faces solemn but alive. "Brothers, sisters," she began, her voice echoing through the comms. "We are the last voice of Earth. Not conquerors, not ghosts, but the memory of what was lost. We will not bring fire to the galaxy unless it chooses to burn itself." Her words rippled through the void, carried on encrypted channels that bypassed every known communication defense. Every world, every moon, every starfaring people received the same transmission. Images of Earth, its oceans, its cities, its skies appeared above their capitals, and one line of text burned into their vision. We were never gone. We only waited for the stars to remember our name. In the council hall, the atmosphere cracked under fear. Some delegates dropped to their knees. Others shouted for surrender. The president's voice broke as he tried to speak. "What do they want from us?" he whispered. No one had an answer. Then a signal overrode all frequencies, coming directly from the Leviathan. Captain Cade's image filled the skies of 1,000 worlds. Her expression calm, eyes steady. "Galactic Council," she said. "You hunted us once. You called it the Purge. You buried our name beneath your stars. But you cannot erase what endures. We do not seek vengeance. We seek remembrance. We ask only this: do not forget who we were." Behind her, the colossal ships aligned in perfect silence. Their formation stretched across the heavens like a silver scar, a reminder carved in light and shadow. Atlas's voice followed. Colossus fleet entering hibernation mode. Observation only. The ships began to drift outward, dispersing into the deep void, each vanishing into hyperspace. No destruction, no fire, only quiet departure. The council chamber remained still. Admiral Vekar turned toward the window. "Do you hear that?" he asked softly. President Raylos frowned. "Hear what?" "The silence," Vekar said. "That's the sound of the galaxy realizing it's no longer the center of history." Out among the stars, the Leviathan cruised through nebulae painted in blue and gold light. Its engines dimmed to a slow eternal hum. Captain Cade stood alone in the observation bay. Beneath her feet stretched the infinite ocean of stars. She placed a hand on the cold glass, whispering, "Earth, we kept your promise," Atlas replied quietly. "Transmission logged for posterity." And somewhere in the deep unknown beyond charted space, a faint signal pulsed from a dead world. Its message simple and timeless: Welcome home. The galaxy, vast and powerful, had witnessed something beyond empires and wars. It had seen humanity awaken from extinction. And in that moment, every ruler, every fleet, every soul across the stars felt the same truth. The galaxy could expand, divide, and rule. But it would never again forget the name of humanity. For the day the Colossus fleet rose from the void, the galaxy stopped breathing and history began anew.